The phone rang at 2:30 in the morning. After 42 years of marriage, I'd learned that nothing good comes from a phone call at that hour. My wife, Sarah, stirred beside me as I fumbled for my reading glasses and squinted at the screen. Lily's name glowed in the darkness. "Grandpa?" Her voice came through, broken and small, each syllable catching on a sob. "Grandpa, I need you." My heart dropped into my stomach. Lily was 9 years old. She should have been asleep in her bed 15 miles away, not calling me in the middle of the night. I sat up, fully awake now, my carpenter's instincts telling me something was structurally wrong with this picture. "What's wrong, sweetheart? Where are you?" "I'm home. They left without me, Grandpa. They went on the cruise without me." The words dissolved into crying so hard I could hear her gasping for breath. In the background, I heard a woman's voice trying to soothe her. "Mrs. Patterson is here, but I don't understand. Why didn't they take me? What did I do wrong?" Mrs. Patterson, the babysitter, my son David and his wife Rebecca, had taken their 12-year-old son Jake on a 10-day Caribbean cruise. They'd been planning it for months. Lily had been excited about it for weeks, counting down the days on the calendar she kept by her bed. I'd helped her shop for a new swimsuit just last Tuesday. "Put Mrs. Patterson on the phone," I said, my voice harder than I intended. Sarah was sitting up now, her hand on my arm, concern etched across her face in the dim light. The babysitter's voice came through, apologetic and confused. "Mr. Harrison, I'm so sorry to call so late. Lily woke up about an hour ago asking where everyone was. I thought maybe she'd just forgotten they were leaving early, but she says they told her she was going too. She's been crying ever since. I didn't know what else to do." "You did the right thing. I'm on my way. 20 minutes. I was already out of bed, pulling on the jeans I'd draped over the chair. Sarah was moving too, not asking questions yet because she knew me well enough to know I'd explain in the car. The drive to David's house took 18 minutes. I might have broken a few speed limits. Sarah sat beside me, her jaw set in that way that told me she was already 3 steps ahead, already assembling the pieces of what this meant. "They wouldn't just forget her," she said quietly. "No," I agreed. "They wouldn't forget," which meant this was a choice. My son and his wife had deliberately left my granddaughter behind while they took their vacation, while they took Jake, their biological son, on a Caribbean cruise. Lily had come into our family 3 years ago, already carrying more pain than any 6-year-old should know. Her biological parents had died in a car accident, and after bouncing through 3 foster homes, she'd finally landed with David and Rebecca. The adoption had been finalized 18 months ago. We'd thrown a party. I'd built her a treehouse in their backyard, spending 2 weeks getting every detail right, making sure it was strong enough to hold not just her weight, but the weight of finally having a place that was hers. I pulled into their driveway. The house was dark except for the living room light. Through the window, I could see Lily, curled up on the couch, Mrs. Patterson sitting beside her. The girl's small body was shaking with sobs. The sound I made getting out of the car must have scared Sarah. I didn't realize I was growling until she put her hand on my chest, stopping me at the front door. "Remember who needs you right now," she said softly. "Lily needs her grandfather, not your anger." She was right. She was always right. I took a breath, unclenched my fists, and knocked gently before letting myself in with the spare key David had given me years ago. Lily looked up when we entered. Her face was blotchy and swollen, her dark hair tangled from sleep. When she saw me, she launched herself off the couch and into my arms with the force of a child who'd been holding herself together and could finally let go. "I don't understand," she sobbed into my shoulder. "Why didn't they wake me up? Did I do something bad?" "I tried to be good, Grandpa. I tried so hard." Over her head, I met Mrs. Patterson's eyes. She looked miserable. "I should have called earlier," she said, "but Rebecca told me Lily was grounded, that it was a last-minute punishment, and I was supposed to stay with her. But Lily didn't know anything about being grounded. I thought maybe there'd been a miscommunication, but the more I thought about it, she trailed off, shaking her head. "This isn't right." "No," I said, still holding Lily. "It's not right." Sarah was already moving through the house with purpose. She came back a few minutes later with Lily's suitcase, the one that had been packed and ready by the front door for 2 weeks. It was still in Lily's room, untouched. "Lily," Sarah said gently, crouching down. "Did Mommy and Daddy tell you that you weren't going on the cruise?" Lily shook her head against my shoulder. "Mommy said we were leaving early because the ship leaves at 11. She said to go to sleep and she'd wake me up at 5, but nobody woke me up. When I called Mommy's phone, it went straight to voicemail. Daddy's too. They'd turned off their phones. They'd left their 9-year-old daughter behind, turned off their phones, and sailed away to the Caribbean with their biological son. The thought made my vision blur with rage. I'd spent my whole career building houses. I understood structures, foundations, load-bearing walls. I knew that sometimes you had to demolish before you could rebuild. Looking at Lily's tear-stained face, I realized that's exactly what this situation needed. A controlled demolition. "Lily," I said, pulling back so I could look at her. "How would you like to go on a cruise?" Her eyes widened. "But they already left without me." "I know they did. But I happen to know that cruise ship doesn't leave Fort Lauderdale until 11 this morning. It's 3 o'clock now. That gives us 8 hours. What do you say we drive down there, you and me and Grandma, and we meet them at the ship? Can we do that?" Hope flickered in her eyes, fragile and desperate. "Sweetheart," I said, "I can do anything I need to do to make sure you're okay." Sarah was already on her phone, pulling up cruise booking sites. Mrs. Patterson was gathering Lily's things. I called my credit card company to raise my limit, then called the cruise line directly. Yes, they had cabins available. Yes, I could book this late if I was willing to pay the premium. Yes, they could accommodate my dietary restrictions and arrange for my granddaughter to be in the kids' club with her brother. By 4:30, we were on the road. Lily fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted from crying, clutching her stuffed elephant that she'd been too embarrassed to pack originally. Sarah drove while I made calls. First, I called my lawyer. He was not happy to hear from me at 5 in the morning, but he woke up fast when I explained the situation. "Document everything," he said. "Every text, every call, every interaction. This is child abandonment, Richard. If we need to, we can make a case for custody modification." Then I called my daughter Jennifer in California. She needed to know what her brother had done. Her response was immediate and fierce. "I'm flying out tomorrow. Lily is not going through this alone." As the sun rose over the Florida coast, I felt the old familiar weight of responsibility settling onto my shoulders. It was the same weight I'd carried raising my own kids, the same weight I'd felt building houses for young families, making sure every wall was straight and every foundation was solid. This was about protection. This was about making sure a child knew she mattered. We reached Port Everglades at 9:45. The parking garage was chaos. Families rushing toward the terminal with overpacked suitcases and excited kids. Lily was quiet, holding my hand tight enough to hurt. She'd put on the new sundress we'd bought for the cruise, the yellow one with white flowers. She'd brushed her hair carefully and put it in 2 braids. She was trying so hard to be good, to be worthy of being included, and it broke my heart. The cruise terminal was massive and crowded. We checked in, went through security, and followed the flow of passengers toward the gangway. Lily kept looking around nervously, as if she expected someone to stop her, to tell her she wasn't allowed. "Grandpa," she whispered as we walked up the ramp toward the ship, "what if they're mad at me?" I stopped and knelt down so we were eye level, not caring about the people streaming past us. "Lily, listen to me. You did nothing wrong. Do you understand? Nothing. Whatever happens on this ship, you remember that. You are wanted, you are loved, and you have every right to be here." She nodded, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. 3 years of stability couldn't erase 6 years of being unwanted, of being bounced from home to home. That kind of damage took time to heal, and every setback cut deep. The ship was enormous, a floating city of white and glass. We found our cabin on deck 8, dropped off our bags, and I checked the ship's app on my phone. According to the schedule, there was a mandatory muster drill at 10:30, followed by the sail-away party on the Lido deck at 11. Perfect. That's where everyone would be. That's where we'd find David and Rebecca. I bought Lily an ice cream cone from one of the deck cafes. She ate it slowly, methodically, as if she was afraid it might be taken away. Sarah held her other hand, pointing out the features of the ship, trying to distract her. But I could see Lily's eyes scanning every crowd, looking for her family. We found them at the sail-away party. The Lido deck was packed with passengers, music blasting, people dancing and celebrating as the ship pulled away from the dock. And there, near the railing, I saw my son. David was laughing at something Jake said, his arm around Rebecca's waist. Jake was wearing a new cruise line t-shirt, his face flushed with excitement. Rebecca looked relaxed, a tropical drink in her hand, her designer sunglasses pushed up on her head. They looked like the perfect family on the perfect vacation. Without the daughter they'd left behind. Lily saw them at the same moment. She froze, her hand tightening around mine. "There they are," she whispered. "I know, sweetheart. You ready?" She nodded, but I felt her trembling. We walked across the deck. Other passengers moved out of our way, probably sensing the tension rolling off me in waves. Jake saw us first. His mouth dropped open in shock. "Grandpa? Lily? What are you?" David turned. The color drained from his face. Rebecca's expression cycled through surprise, confusion, and then anger in rapid succession. "Dad?" David's voice cracked. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same question," I said calmly, though my hands were shaking with the effort of keeping my voice level. "But I think the better question is, why is Lily here with me instead of with you?" People around us were starting to notice. The music seemed too loud, the celebration too bright for the confrontation unfolding. Rebecca recovered first, her face arranging itself into a pleasant mask. "Richard, there's been a misunderstanding. Lily was grounded." We tried to explain to her. "Don't." The word came out sharp enough to cut. "Don't you dare lie to me. Lily didn't know anything about being grounded. You told her she was going. She packed her suitcase. She went to sleep thinking you'd wake her up to come on this cruise. And instead, you left her behind and turned off your phones." "Dad, maybe we should talk about this somewhere private," David said, glancing around at the growing number of interested spectators. "No," I said. "I don't think so. Because what you did wasn't private. You abandoned your daughter. You took your biological son on a luxury vacation and left your adopted daughter at home with a babysitter. So let's talk about it right here, right now, where everyone can see what kind of parents you really are." Rebecca's mask slipped. "You have no right to interfere with our parenting decisions." Lily needed to learn. "Learn what?" I interrupted. "That she doesn't matter as much as Jake? That she's not really part of this family? What exactly did you want to teach a 9-year-old girl who's already spent half her life being unwanted?" "That's not fair," Rebecca said, her voice rising. "I have been nothing but good to that child. I adopted her. I gave her a home." "You gave her the appearance of a home," I said. "There's a difference. And the second it became inconvenient to include her, you showed her exactly where she stands." Jake was staring at his mother with an expression I couldn't quite read. David looked sick, his eyes moving between me and Lily, who was standing slightly behind Sarah, silent and small. "David," I said, turning to my son, "look at your daughter. Look at her face right now and tell me you did the right thing." He looked. For a long moment, he really looked at Lily. She was trying not to cry, biting her lip hard enough that I could see the white pressure marks. She was 9 years old, standing on a cruise ship in her new sundress, having been left behind by the people who were supposed to love her unconditionally. Something broke in David's expression. "Oh God," he whispered. "Lily, No," Rebecca said sharply. "Don't you dare apologize. We discussed this. We agreed." "You agreed," David said, his voice growing stronger. "You decided Lily needed to be punished for something that wasn't even her fault, and I went along with it because I wanted to avoid a fight. I wanted peace in my house. So I sacrificed my daughter's happiness for peace, and that makes me exactly the kind of coward my father always warned me not to be." "David!" Rebecca's voice was shrill now. "If you undermine me in front of everyone, I'm not undermining you. I'm admitting I was wrong. I should have fought harder. I should have said no. I should have put Lily first. And I didn't, and I am so sorry." He moved toward Lily, but she stepped back, pressing closer to Sarah. The look on David's face when his daughter flinched away from him was devastating. Good. He needed to see what his choices had cost. I think, I said carefully, that we all need to have a very long conversation about what happens when this cruise is over. But right now, Lily has waited a long time for this vacation. So here's what's going to happen. Lily is going to enjoy every single activity she wants to do. She's going to go swimming and eat ice cream and play with the other kids and see every show and visit every port. And you two are going to think about whether you're capable of being the parents she deserves. Dad, please, David started. I paid for my own cabin, I continued. Lily will stay with Sarah and me. You want to see her? You ask permission. You want to apologize? You do it when she's ready, not when it's convenient for you. And Rebecca? I turned to my daughter-in-law, who was now openly furious, her face red and splotchy. You're going to leave her alone, completely alone, because if I see you make that child feel unwanted one more time, I will make it my personal mission to ensure that every person on this ship and every person back home knows exactly what kind of woman you are. You can't threaten me, Rebecca hissed. That's not a threat. It's a promise. I spent 42 years building houses, teaching my son the difference between a solid foundation and a structure that only looks stable until you put weight on it. I thought I'd taught him better than this, but I guess some lessons take longer to learn. I took Lily's hand and turned to leave. Sarah followed, her arm protectively around Lily's shoulders. Jake started to follow, but Rebecca grabbed his arm. Jake, no, stay with us. The boy looked torn, glancing between his parents and his sister. Then he pulled free from his mother's grip and ran after us. Lily, wait! She turned, and he threw his arms around her. I didn't know, Lil. I swear I didn't know. They weren't bringing you. Mom said you were meeting us on the ship. I waited for you at breakfast this morning. I was so excited to show you the kids' club. I'm so sorry. Lily hugged him back, and watching her forgive her brother instantly, without hesitation, made something in my chest crack open. That's what unconditional love looked like. That's what this child deserved, and wasn't getting from the adults who'd promised to protect her. It's okay, Jake, she said softly. You didn't do anything wrong. Come on, I said. Let's go explore this ship. The rest of that first day was strange. We did exactly what I'd said we would. We took Lily to the water slides, to the arcade, to the ice cream bar. We watched her slowly start to relax, to smile, to act like the 9-year-old she was, instead of the traumatized foster kid she'd been. Jake stayed with us most of the time, and I didn't send him away. He wasn't the problem. David tried to approach us several times, but I held up a hand each time. Not yet, I said simply. He nodded and backed off. Rebecca stayed away entirely, which was exactly what I wanted. That night, after Lily had fallen asleep in our cabin, exhausted from a day of trying to process everything while also riding water slides and eating her weight in pizza, Sarah and I sat on our private balcony, watching the moonlight on the dark water. You know this isn't over, Sarah said quietly. This is just the beginning of something much bigger. I know. Rebecca isn't going to forgive this. She's going to make David choose. I know that too. And Lily is going to need so much support. This kind of rejection, it's going to stay with her. I was quiet for a long moment, thinking about the look on Lily's face when she'd realized her parents had left without her. Thinking about how hard she'd tried to understand what she'd done wrong. Thinking about the treehouse in their backyard that I'd built so carefully, making sure every board was secure. You know what I realized today? I said finally. For 42 years, I've been building things. Houses, mostly. And the first thing you learn as a carpenter is that you can't build on a bad foundation. If the foundation is cracked or uneven or compromised, it doesn't matter how beautiful the house is. Eventually, it's going to fail. Rebecca has spent 3 years building a family structure on a compromised foundation. She made Lily believe she was wanted, but only conditionally. Only when it was convenient. Only when it didn't inconvenience her biological children. That's not a foundation. That's a trap door. So what are you going to do? I'm going to do what I always do. Identify the structural problems. Determine what can be saved and what needs to be demolished. And then rebuild something that's actually strong enough to hold everyone who needs shelter. Sarah took my hand. You know that might mean losing David. If he chooses Rebecca, if he decides his marriage is more important than your relationship, then he'll have made his choice, I said firmly. But I've already made mine. That little girl in there, sleeping with her elephant, she needs someone to choose her, unconditionally, without hesitation. And if her parents won't do it, then by God, I will. The next morning, David was waiting outside our cabin when we emerged for breakfast. Lily tensed when she saw him, and I felt her hand tighten around mine. "Can we talk?" David asked. He looked awful, like he hadn't slept. "Good. That depends," I said. "Do you have something to say that Lily needs to hear?" He nodded and knelt down so he was at Lily's eye level. "Lily, I need you to know something. What I did was wrong. There is no excuse, no explanation that makes it okay. I left you behind because I was weak, because I didn't fight hard enough for you, and because I let my fear of conflict hurt someone I'm supposed to protect. I'm your father, and I failed you. I'm so sorry." Lily was silent, her face unreadable. "I can't take it back," David continued, his voice breaking. "I can't undo the hurt, but I can promise you that it will never happen again. You are my daughter. You are Jake's sister. You are part of this family. And nothing is ever going to change that. If I have to choose between you and anyone else, I choose you. Every single time. Do you understand?" "What about Mommy?" Lily asked quietly. David's jaw tightened. "Mommy and I need to have some very serious conversations. But whatever happens between us, it doesn't change the fact that you're my daughter and I love you. Okay?" She nodded slowly, and I saw some of the tension leave her small shoulders. David stood and looked at me. "Dad, I know I screwed up. I know sorry isn't enough, but I'm asking you to let me try to fix this. Let me spend time with Lily this week. Let me show her that I mean what I say." I studied my son's face. I saw exhaustion there, and guilt, and determination. I saw the boy I'd raised, the one I'd taught to measure twice and cut once, to build things that would last. Somewhere along the way, he'd forgotten those lessons, but maybe it wasn't too late for him to remember. "You want to rebuild trust with your daughter?" I said. "Then you earn it, one day at a time, one choice at a time. But understand this. If you hurt her again, if you choose convenience over her well-being again, I will take her away from you. I will fight for custody if I have to. She will always have a place with us, and you will not break her heart again. Are we clear?" "Crystal clear," David said. Over the next 7 days, I watched my son try to piece together what he'd broken. He showed up for every meal, every activity. He was patient when Lily was distant, gentle when she was sad, present when she was angry. Jake helped, his natural exuberance pulling his sister into games and adventures. Slowly, carefully, Lily started to open up again. Rebecca, meanwhile, stayed away. I saw her sometimes, always with other passengers, always with a drink in her hand, always laughing too loudly. She looked miserable beneath the facade, and I didn't feel an ounce of sympathy. On the 5th day, David came to me on the Lido deck, while Lily and Jake were at the kids' club. "I told Rebecca I want a separation when we get home," he said without preamble. "I've been making excuses for her behavior for too long. The therapist we saw last year warned me that she was showing signs of resentment toward Lily. I thought she'd grow out of it. I thought if I just kept the peace, everything would work itself out. But you were right, Dad. The foundation is compromised, and I can't build a family on a foundation that excludes one of my children." I didn't say anything for a moment, just watched the ocean roll past the ship. "That's a hard decision," I said finally. "I'm proud of you for making it. I should have made it 3 years ago. Hell, I should have made it before we finalized the adoption. If I'd known Rebecca wasn't fully committed to Lily, I should have walked away then. But I wanted the picture-perfect family, and I was willing to ignore the cracks to get it. We all make mistakes, David. What matters is what you do next. What I do next is make sure Lily knows she matters, that she's wanted, that she's loved. However long that takes, whatever it costs, that's what I do next. Then you're finally ready to be the father she needs." On the last night of the cruise, the ship hosted a family talent show. Lily had signed up to sing, something she'd been practicing in secret with Sarah all week. When she walked onto the stage in her yellow sundress, clutching the microphone with both hands, I felt my throat tighten. She sang "You Are My Sunshine," her voice small but clear. It was simple, it was sweet, and when she got to the line about "Please don't take my sunshine away," she looked right at David, tears streaming down her face, and kept singing. The audience erupted in applause when she finished. But I wasn't watching the audience. I was watching my son, who had tears running down his own face, who was clapping so hard his hands must have hurt. And I was watching Rebecca, sitting 3 rows behind us, her face carefully blank, refusing to applaud. That's when I knew for certain that some structures couldn't be saved. They had to be demolished so something better could be built in their place. We disembarked in Fort Lauderdale on a Saturday morning. The real world was waiting, with lawyers and therapists and difficult conversations ahead. But as I walked down the gangway with Lily's hand in mine, Sarah on my other side, David and Jake following close behind, I felt something settle in my chest. This was what family was supposed to be. Not perfect, not easy, but present, choosing each other, showing up even when it was hard. 6 months later, David's divorce was finalized. Rebecca moved to Atlanta, where her parents lived, and started over. She had limited visitation with Jake, and none with Lily at her own request. Good riddance. Lily started therapy twice a week. The nightmares came back for a while, the old fears about being unwanted. But slowly, with patience and consistency and a whole lot of love from people who chose to show up for her, she started to heal. David moved into a smaller house, just him and his 2 kids. I helped him fix it up, teaching Jake some basic carpentry in the process. The 3 of them built a new life together, one that wasn't perfect, but was real, one with a solid foundation. Sarah and I see them 3 times a week now. Lily stays over every Friday night, and we've established what she calls Grandparent Fridays, where we do whatever she wants. Some nights, it's movie marathons and popcorn. Other nights, she wants to talk about the hard stuff, the feelings she's processing in therapy. We listen, we stay. We remind her that she's chosen, she's wanted, she's loved. I built houses for 42 years. I thought I understood construction, but it turns out the most important thing I ever built wasn't a house at all. It was a family willing to tear down the walls that didn't serve them and rebuild something stronger in their place. Sometimes protection means demolition first, but what comes after, that's what matters. That's what lasts. And watching Lily laugh freely now, seeing her trust that she's really, truly home, that's the best thing I ever helped construct.